Today, I've got my Harley Benton 6-string baritone here for quite a bit of work. I believe this is an R456, either a BK or an FM. I can't quite remember the model number, and I can't find it on the archives. I just know that I got it probably 5-6 years ago for about $130 USD at the time. Pretty good deal. I'd always wanted to try a fan fret or a multi-scale guitar. I'd always wanted to try a baritone, so I was like, hey, something that cheap. 2 birds, 1 stone, might as well. But I've got her in today because she needs fret work, electronics, deep cleaning. It's kind of the main thing, really. But let's go ahead and get started, start disassembling. And I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward through pretty much all of this here. You've seen somebody take off strings from a guitar, put tape on the neck, and, clean them up and do all that a million bajillion times on the internet. So I kind of wanted to use this time a little bit more to talk about this guitar itself and the kind of shows and things like that I've played with it. Like I said, I got this guitar about 6 years ago, something like that, 6 or 7 years ago now that I'm thinking about it. I just remember finding it on Thoman's website as I was scrolling through their very large feed of very inexpensive guitars and immediately being drawn to it. So after a couple of days kind of checking it out and thinking about it, I decided to go for it. It was $136, I believe, at the time, USD, not including any kind of shipping or anything like that. Gotta remember that. But speaking of shipping, I remember being completely flabbergasted when it showed up to my door in about 4 days, something around there, 3 to 4 days, something very, very fast, considering all the shipping was coming out of Germany and I was living on the west coast of the United States at the time, so very surprised by that. And this part here, don't worry about doing any damage to the neck. I'm putting basically no pressure down. I'm barely hitting the tops of these things. They don't really need to be leveled all that much. I was mostly hitting anything behind about fret 15 mostly, and then doing some crowning work here. I believe the first show that I played with this guitar after I got it was a 3-day music festival. We were the headliners of the first night there, and I ended up not being able to stay for any of the rest of it, unfortunately, but it was pretty cool. A person that we knew through work, I believe, owned some property about 40 minutes out of the town that I grew up in, and every year, in the middle of July, they would host this 3-day music festival. He built a huge stage out on a couple acres that he had. He let people camp on the property, bring RVs and camp. Dude had quite a bit of space and let people use it up, which was pretty neat. But the band that I was in at the time, which was funny enough, just an 80s metal tribute band, we got to headline the first night there, and it was pretty great because people weren't all crazy partied out yet or anything like that, so we got some pretty good crowd response and everything there. That was a lot of fun. I got to play a decent amount of leads. I had this guitar and an Ibanez RG with the Edge 3 trem on it as well, and being 80s metal, I had to use the trem quite a bit for some of the solos, but this Harley Benton still got quite a bit of action for the kind of show that it was. As you can see here, I am using some quadruple zero steel wool to take off some of the sheen on the back of the neck. I'm not a huge fan of clear-coated necks too much, so I just very lightly run over that and take some of that off, and then I'll hit it with some oil later to kind of lubricate it back up. And here I'm fixing up a bad connection. Anytime I would switch over to the neck pickup, I would just get a dead signal. So I'm getting that all fixed up. I am also getting everything taped off to the side so I can add aluminum foil tape to the inside of the cavity here for a little bit better electronic isolation. It was my first time ever doing it. I think I did an alright job. It's a little wrinkly in quite a few of the spots, but I learned a lot and I know how to do it a bit better for next time as well. Alright, reassembling everything here before getting the strings on, getting the full setup going, just hitting it with some regular old cleaner here. believe the last show that I played with this guitar was at a much smaller venue. It was in the downtown area of Eugene, Oregon. A friend and ex-bandmate, I think I'd been in like 2 or 3 bands with this guy, but he was starting a solo project and had a, I believe, 3-piece group. Guitar player, he was bass and vocals, and then he had a drummer as well. He had just put out, well, I guess technically we had just put out his first EP. I did the recording and mixing and mastering and everything for him. Got that published out to different streaming platforms and whatnot. But I remember they were getting ready for their first show, and his guitarist flaked on him about a week before the show was supposed to happen. And he came to me, he's like, "Man, you've heard the songs 1,000 times, like I can send you some tabs for anything that you want." And I was like, "Nope." I think I can manage this all by ear. And we played it was a pretty decent little set list. I think it was like a little 6 or 7 song set list, like nothing too crazy, but you know, it was pretty good for a first show, and people seemed pretty receptive. It was not a huge crowd. I mean, I think it was only, you know, it was like a bar and stage kind of place, so it was, you know, probably 30 people max, something like that, but it was a good time. All right, here I am getting the Ernie Ball hybrid slinky that I'm throwing on there. I don't like putting super heavy strings on this guy. The extra long scale length, you know, hence being a baritone, or at least partially extra long scale length here, means you don't really have to put very heavy strings on for good tension, especially because I'm not tuning super low. I just keep it in drop B. And as you can see, I do 3 wound strings and 3 unwound strings. I know a lot of people like to do 4 wound strings and then 2 unwound on baritone guitars generally, but I like keeping it feeling like a standard 6-string because I just play it in drop B. I just like all the extra tension. For anything lower, I generally just use one of my 7 strings. All right, and we got some beauty shots coming up here. Let's see how she looks now that she's all put back together. I think it turned out pretty good myself. Overall, I'm very happy with how she turned out. I think I accomplished everything that I set out to do originally. I can't even feel the fret ends on either side of the neck here. I don't have any more dead notes, you know, dead frets, anything like that. I have a little bit of buzzing on a couple of frets here and there, but it's nothing unmanageable. And honestly, I think it's mostly because the action is so low, because that's just how I like to set my action. The neck is almost as straight as an arrow. It has just a little bit of a bend in it, but obviously you need that to make it playable. Reset my pickup height a little bit, backed it away from the strings just a little tiny bit, get a little bit more dynamics out of it, even on more distorted channels. I no longer get a bunch of noise swapping between the neck and bridge pickups anymore, which is huge, and I can actually play on the neck pickup again. All in all, I'm just very, very happy with how it plays, looks, feels, sounds, just very happy. And here's what it sounds like through Archetype Nolly. Now let's hear how it sounds in a mix. Fooled you for a second, dummies. Overall, I am incredibly happy with this guitar. Bang for your buck, this is probably one of the finest guitars that I think I'm ever going to own, really. I've owned $1,000 guitars, played multiple $1,000 guitars in the past. I've played very, very cheap guitars in the past, owned very cheap guitars in the past, including this one. And honestly, this one holds up with most anything that I've played in about the $700 to $900 kind of range, honestly. Not quite $1,000 guitar, but, you know, high-end for consumer kind of level. If you ever find one of these guys or one of the similar ones in its family, you know, a 7 or an 8 string kind of in this family on eBay or Reverb or something like that for a fair price, I would highly, highly recommend grabbing one of these guys. And if anybody from Harley Benton is watching this, I implore you, please bring these guys back. They're fantastic. I love them. People will love them. If you keep the same multi-scale lengths that you have here and use some different body types, I'm sure people will pick them up in a heartbeat. I know I, for one, would love a multi-scale Telecaster. I think the only company that I've seen doing that is Ormsby, and theirs is really cool. I know Harley Benton could do something crazy with it too. Anyway, I got plenty more of these types of videos coming. I have tons of guitars that need tons of work, and I'm going to be making videos like this about each and every one of them if I get the chance. If you like this one, obviously, throw a like on it, maybe do a little subscribe or something like that if you feel like it, if you feel so kind, and I hope to see you in the next one.